watching NBC4, the Tri-State News.
Is the Tri-State area's news leader.
Live from Fifth Avenue, this is CBS 2 First News at 4.
Summer usually brings hot temperatures, and most people want to get outside and enjoy the beautiful weather. But if you are not careful, you could get very sick, especially during times like this when we're in a heat wave. To know how to avoid heat stroke, we're joined now by Dr. Mark Melrose of Beth Israel Medical Center. Dr. Melrose, thanks for being here.
Of course.
Again. We saw the pictures of the people mourning Carrie Stringer in Warren, Ohio today, and everything that happened last week. First of all, just explain heat stroke. What is it? How does it happen?
Well, heat stroke is a sudden collapse of the body's central nervous system and circulatory system brought about by an inability to regulate your body temperature. Usually this would happen on a very hot day where the body's normal cooling mechanisms, such as perspiring and just drinking lots of fluids or staying indoors out of the heat, are inaccessible.
So as a general rule of thumb, I think that any unexpected or sudden change in your usual state of health from an illness or an injury would conceivably constitute an emergency.
And now you have what you call the ABCs, right?
Yes.
What does that stand for?
Airway, breathing, and circulation. And when somebody arrives at the emergency department as a patient, this is generally the order in which we determine the urgency of their care. If somebody can't get air into their lungs because they have an injury to their mouth or because they've inhaled some foreign object, then that would certainly be the first priority.
Okay, that's A. What's B?
B is for breathing, and that would be from an asthma attack or an injury to the chest from either a car accident or stabbing or shooting or pneumonia. And then C is circulation, which would be a heart attack.
Tell me first how you figure out what constitutes a medical emergency at home.
Well, largely it's up to the parents to decide. If you feel that your child has any unexpected or sudden illness or injury that is different from your child's usual state of health, then it would be worthwhile to either contact your pediatrician or if...
And now it's time for Fox First Aid.
This is Dr. Mark Melrose, the Director of Emergency Medicine at the Beth Israel Medical Center North Division for Fox First Aid. It's summertime, and when you're out and about, you might come in contact with some poisonous plants. These include poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac. Some of the symptoms and local allergic reactions that you can get from these plants include redness, swelling, itching, and maybe even blisters from poison ivy. Some of the things that you can do to minimize the symptoms and make yourself feel a little bit better include taking over-the-counter antihistamines such as Benadryl, which are available at your local pharmacy, applying calamine lotion and/or hydrocortisone cream, which helps to decrease the swelling and itching. And also, don't take hot baths or showers, as the heat increases the itching. So the cooler, the better. Also, you don't have to go out into the woods to get the poison ivy or poison oak. Your dogs and cats can bring it to you. So make sure that you wash your pets, wash all clothing and bed linens that may have come in contact with the poison plants, as you can spread it from one body part to another without being out in the woods. This has been Dr. Mark Melrose for Fox First Aid.
Off the top is, what is the difference between how you get a cold and a flu, and how can you tell the difference?
Well, most of the ways that colds and flus are transmitted are pretty much in common, either by airborne particles or by directly touching various parts of your body. Probably the most common way would just be shaking hands with somebody, and then you touch your mouth or rub your nose or rub your eye, and there you got it. I think that technology has advanced certainly in leaps and bounds, and while we have the tools to improve people's health care and improve their body, societies take on the ethics of health care, on a context for how do we make people feel better as well as be able to make their bodies live longer, has been a little bit slower in catching up.
Women who literally fall off their shoes.
The most obvious is a sprained ankle, or sometimes in extreme circumstances, even a broken ankle. However, people have to land on something, so usually they put their hands out to protect themselves from falling, and so we see a fair amount of sprained wrists and even broken wrists as well.
There is no known cure for rabies.
Dr. Mark Melrose of Manhattan's Beth Israel North says the New Jersey death has prompted the National Centers for Disease Control to issue new warnings for people who find themselves in the presence of bats in the home.
In other words, if bats are found in the attic of your home or in your garage, that you should have preventative rabies immunizations because the bites from the bat often go unrecognized as the teeth marks are so small.
Fever, chills, body aches, runny nose, no energy. I just didn't feel like doing a thing.
And any difficulty breathing?
No, thankfully.
Okay, let me just take a listen real quick.
Dr. Mark Melrose of Beth Israel Medical Center says Marion is only one of many New Yorkers he's seen lately hit with a new strain of influenza called Type A Sydney, which was first identified in Australia.
Great. Having never been prevalent in this area before, people don't have any immunity to it, so if they're going to get a form of the flu, they'd be more likely to get the Sydney flu. There's no difference between the Sydney flu and any other flu. None of the flus produce any different symptoms.
And Dr. Melrose says this strain doesn't seem to be any more or less contagious than any other flu, despite the fact that New York's flu season started earlier and appears more widespread than...
Any other recommendations?
Well, the people that are most susceptible to heat are generally the very old, the very young, and people who exercise or work out of doors. And so it's very, very important. I would say my top 3 recommendations would be to drink, and drink. And so if you don't need to be out of doors on very, very hot days, don't.
But the water is the key.
Water and sports drinks are the key.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor.